Shohei Ohtani signs a 10-year, $700 million contract that will not be matched maybe in our entire lifetime. We always talk about how these things are just going to keep going up and keep going up, and it doesn't seem like there's a bubble that's going to burst. I do agree. I think it's just going to keep going up because sports keep getting more popular and these guys keep making more money. But I don't know when we're going to see this top in a professional sports setting. I really don't. $700 million is unprecedented. But I want to talk about a couple guys. One, Juan Soto. He is coming up next free agency. He's got to now be looking at this contract and salivating, thinking, I'm getting at least $500 million, if not more like 550. I would say 600 is probably a little bit of a stretch, but 500 million. And he's kind of got the Yankees pinned to the wall. And you know how much money the Yankees have. The fact that they went out there and made this trade, it almost feels like now they have to re-sign him, right? Like you can't just make this trade and not re-sign him. So I'm sure he has a lot of leverage at the negotiating table. I also want to mention it from Ronald Acuña's perspective. Now we're still 4 or 5 years away from having to make a decision on Ronald Acuña, but he's also got to be looking at this like, hey, I'm going to hit free agency when I'm 28, 29 years old or whatever. And I'm going to get a 10-year deal too that could probably top Juan Soto's. I mean, we could be talking about a $600 million contract, especially if Ronald Acuña stays healthy and keeps improving like he has over the last several years. I've talked about Ronald Acuña as an extension candidate as early as this season. I think the Braves should try to get that done as quickly as possible. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that holds out like Juan Soto and wants $600 million, but if you can somehow get him under team control for the rest of his career for $400, $500 million right now, I don't know how you're not doing that as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to each point that you made, backtracking to Ohtani's contract. It's a North American record. Obviously, we know about all those Saudi contracts, but you're speaking to the North American facet of all these contracts. And the only way I see somebody topping that is ownership stake in one of these teams, whether it's, a publicly traded team like the Packers or the Braves. Braves are actually publicly traded, or, Jerry Jones just gives a slice of pie to a quarterback, something like that. That's the only way I see a deal topping Shohei Ohtani's. Now to the Juan Soto. Yeah, he's got the Yankees cornered. They're going to have to write a blank check for Soto because who's just waiting in the wings? It's Steve Cohen, who has endless money to potentially offer Juan Soto a deal, like you said, 400, 500, 600 million. I really don't think that's out of the question at this point because he is one of those guys, the Ohtanis, the Acuñas, the Sotos of the world, where you kind of go blank check. Here you go, buddy. And there's nobody who actually would put their money where their mouth is quite like Steve Cohen in the Mets. We've seen it. Now, Hal Steinbrenner has obviously got tons of money. The Yankees brand is bigger than any in sports, arguably. He has the money. We saw him just give Aaron Judge a whole bunch of money. So they're definitely able to do it. But I think Scott Boras is the one who's licking his lips right now, looking at that Ohtani contract. And he's like, oh, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. I mean, if it doesn't have a 5 in front of it, don't even talk to me right now. And that's for Acuña, to your point. The sooner the Braves get it done, the more money they're going to end up saving in the long run because Acuña is right there with Soto, with Ohtani, like I mentioned, blank check type of guy. He seems less of the nature that he wants to be the highest paid guy in sports. He seems more so concerned with stability. Obviously, money is a factor in all of this, and this is all speculation. I'm just talking out of my butt here, but it just seems like he prefers the stability of Atlanta with his best friend, Ozzy Albies. He goes from Atlanta to Venezuela, and that's it. That's where he lives, In off seasons, he's back in his hometown, just playing baseball, doing what he loves. So it feels like he would be open to another extension this year or even next year or whenever. But it feels like for the Braves, it would be wise to get it out of the way and just do it right now. It's going to save him more money in the long run.
Yeah, and there also, I agree with you on the fact that it doesn't seem like he's the type of guy like Juan Soto who's going to hold out and decline a $450 million deal. We saw him sign the $100 million deal. I also want to speak on the fact that everyone that was talking about Ronald Acuña making a mistake and not signing this 13-year, $300 million deal or something like Fernando Tatis got, they do need to realize that they're stupid and he's going to get more money now because he becomes a free agent at 28. He's right in the middle of his prime. He's still going to get another 10-year contract, something Tatis isn't going to be able to get when he's 35, 36, whenever he becomes a free agent. So as many people called him stupid for making that deal, he's actually going to end up making more money than a guy like Fernando Tatis or any of those other young guys that signed huge 12, 13-year contracts. And
well, the fact is all the young Braves who signed extensions are going to get 2 contracts instead of just one big one. Spencer Strider, Michael Harris, Austin Riley, all those guys are going to get a second contract. So yeah, your point is right on the money.
Yeah, and I think when you look at these contracts and how they just continue to bloat, when you're just talking about, getting it out of the way, look at Bryce Harper's contract. When it signed 13 years, $330 million, everyone was like, whoa, that's huge. Like, there's no way he's going to pay now. Now you look at it, he's making $26 million for the next few years, 22 over his final 3 or 4 years. Like, that's a bargain. Like, that is a bargain, especially in today's game. I mean, you look at Aaron Judge, you look at now Ohtani and what those guys are making. I mean, he's now got one of the better contracts in baseball. And at the time, everyone was like, oh, that's a mega contract. These contracts are just getting insane. So the sooner you get it done, the more like he's going to take less money. And these contracts, as they keep getting bigger, are going to look better and better. So I hope that they put an emphasis on that this offseason or next or whatever. Coming up after the break, the Falcons sustained a ton of injuries in their loss to the Bucs. We are going to talk about them.